We are back on the boat in Montenegro. It's the end of March, beginning of April, so spring has sprung. We're getting ready for our third season aboard. To prepare to relaunch the boat for summer, we need to take it out of storage mode. At the end of the season, we packed it all up and took all the systems offline and got it ready for a long layup over winter out of the water on the stand. And now we have to undo all that and get it ready to relaunch. Some people call this summerization or de-winterizing the boat. And we thought we'd go through all the steps that you need to do to actually get the thing ready to put back in the water. I've written an article about this on the blog as well. So if you want a step-by-step checklist, head over to the blog, thevanderbontales.com, and you can print off a PDF checklist, plus have a whole lot more detail on each step. But in the video, I thought we would just work through each process. Specifically, it's for a sailboat in the Mediterranean, but I'm sure it'll be useful no matter what kind of boat you have or where you're sailing, just to have sort of a checklist of jobs to help you work through getting your boat ready to relaunch. So the first step is just a general inspection, checking the boat for any damage or issues that have cropped up over the winter layup. Check the hull, make sure that there's no damage, make sure there's no corrosion or any issues that you're going to need to take care of before you relaunch. Check the deck, rudder, and the tiller. Make sure everything's still moving, nothing's broken in the off-season in the wind or with movement of the boat if it's been moved around the yard. And finally, have a look at the interior, check for mold, check there's no water ingress or pests that have made a home during the off-season, and just making a note of anything that you're going to have to do to get the boat ready to relaunch. In our case, it's looking pretty good. A little bit of weather damage on the deck, which we should be able to take care of easily. But inside, everything looks good. It looks dry. There's no mold. There's no pests. The hull looks pretty good. It's going to need a repaint with anti-foul. We've got to take care of a couple of minor maintenance issues from last season, fixing the anchor remotes and replacing the alternator on the engine. Hopefully be ready to launch next week, but we'll see how we go. Okay, step 2 is to check the engine. You can start with a visual inspection, just making sure that nothing's leaking. Make sure that all your hoses, your connections, your belts are all in good order, and just doing a basic checkup to see if there's anything obvious that you can address while the boat's still out of the water. If you didn't replace your fuel filter or change your oil when you took the boat out of the water, now's a great opportunity to do that as well. Go below, check your propeller, your drive shaft, your anodes. Just make sure everything down there looks okay and that there's nothing that needs your attention before you put the boat in the water, and it becomes a lot more difficult. Once that's done, it's probably a really good idea to hook up the water intake and run the engine for a bit to make sure that it's running well and not doing anything weird or smoking. If you don't have the opportunity to hook it up and run it for a little while, at least just turn it over even without water, just so you know it's going to start when you put it into the water. Next check is your electrical check. So start with your batteries and work backward. Make sure your batteries are holding a charge and all the connections are secure, and then start working your way back. So check your wiring, make sure nothing's frayed or damaged. Check your switches and your breakers. Start turning on systems one by one. So you can check your navigation equipment, you can check your VHF radio, you can make sure all the lights are coming on, your anchor winch, your bow thruster, any other electronics like your fridge or your television as well. So the electric's all looking good. The only thing that's not working is the anchor winch, or really the remote. It'll let chain out, but it won't bring it in. And that was probably happening to us at the end of last season. I thought it might have been the remote, but having tested a bit, I think it might just be that we need a new solenoid. So I'm going to try to replace the solenoid, see if that gets our anchor going. Then our electric component should be good to go. Next step is looking at our sails and rigging. So taking a look at firstly your sails. Our main sail, it's been filled in the off season. So we just unrolled that and rigged it up, re-rigged the boom and the main sheet, and then we put the genoa back on, and then we had a look at our running rigging. We left most things set up in the off season because the boat is covered, but we did have a lot of our halyards pulled up into the mast with mouse line, so we pulled all of those out, just gave a general inspection of all the running rigging to make sure our ropes look like they're in good nick. And then it's a good opportunity to look at all your standing rigging as well, stays and shrouds and everything like that. And finally, having a look at all the fittings on the boat, so making sure there's no damage or corrosion of any bits or pieces that you need to replace. In our case, it was pretty straightforward. It took us a couple of hours to put everything back together. Next step is to go through all your onboard safety equipment. So life jackets, flares, fire extinguishers, first aid kit. Make sure everything's in good condition and nothing is outside its expiry date, and then service or replace as necessary. Next thing you can do is take a look at your plumbing, your ventilation and your seals. So start with the plumbing systems, make sure that all your hoses and your connections look good, your seacocks are opening and closing properly. Then you can check your bilge system, check your ventilations, make sure there's nothing blocking the airflow coming into the boat through any of the vents, and you can check your seals on your hatches, companionway covers. The last check you can do on board the boat is all those extra systems. So take a look at your tender, make sure it's in good order, the engine is serviced and working properly, your refrigerator is working as it should be, HVAC system, make sure they're all functioning, water maker on board or any entertainment systems. Just a great opportunity to switch everything on and make sure everything's working like it should be. Okay, once you've thoroughly checked out the boat, you've got all the systems back online, everything's working as it should, we're moving on to the final job of preparing to relaunch your sailboat. And it's usually the biggest job, assuming you didn't uncover any major repairs when you were checking things over. And that is cleaning and protecting the boat. So this is an annual job and it generally involves giving the boat a thorough clean inside and out, and then applying any protective treatments. Where we are, that generally involves doing anti-foul paint every year, but it can also involve protecting the wood on the deck or reapplying gel coat or top coat paint, depending on the condition of your boat. Our hull was looking pretty dodgy, so we had to spend a bit of time sanding back all the pockmarked areas, cleaning a bit of rust off the keel, and then priming those areas before we could give our hull a couple of coats of anti-foul paint. And that's ended up being one of the biggest jobs for us this year. Last day of getting the boat ready to put back in the water. It's taken a few days longer than we thought it was going to, but it always does. Painting the hull and protecting the boat, that ended up being quite a big job, but we're almost ready. We've just gone down and got our vignette, which will allow us to get on the water. So we should be ready for launching tomorrow. You ready, Kel?
Ready.
Back on board?
I'm excited.
Are you?
Yeah. We've been on the boat for a while, so it'll be nice to be on the water. It's always nice being on the water, like waking up, the sunrise in the morning. It's going to be pretty cold tomorrow.
How cold is it tomorrow?
Like 13. The plan is to go and anchor just outside of Porto, Montenegro until Saturday, and then we're going to set sail for Croatia. It's crazy that we're getting back on the water.
Underway on the water again. Not very far, 20 minutes around the corner and we've got anchor.
We're on the boat. It's really nice being back on the water and having dinner with the sunset, and this is our day every day. Well, when you've got good weather. Change up in the world. Good.